Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's finally time for the weekly comic book review. Sorry it was late this week. I had some personal issues going on that had to be addressed. So unfortunately, it was late this week, but do rejoice that that's not always the case. But we've never missed a week. We're continuing that streak. And so we always start with the pick of the week, and this week's pick of the week, Rare Flavours, issue number 6. This is the final issue of Ram V and Felipe Andrade's Rare Flavours, and it has been a rare treat here in the comic book community. This has been an amazing book that is filled with poignancy and nuance, right? It is a story about human life, human experience, and just like its predecessor, which is Many Deaths of Layla Starr, pretty much the exact same team working together on another on a follow-up to that book. But that book was about like grief and life and hope through this like fantastical story involving, Indian mythology, right? Which was really so amazing. It was my favorite book of that year, and this is a very worthy successor to that book. I don't think it quite hits on every single level, but it actually tries to do a little bit more, so I actually do think it winds up on the same level. It may not hit right to the chord to some people all at once like Many Deaths of Layla Starr did, but this is a book that I think on rereads is going to become just as important, just as impactful, and just as moving. The artwork is absolutely amazing. The idea of the recipe in the book, how it ties into the theme of the book, and how the final recipe ties into the theme of the final issue of the series, which ties into the whole theme of everything, blew me away. Really love this. The colors are striking. The lettering by Andworld Design is top freaking notch. The lettering is great. The colors are great. Everything about this book is amazing, and the finale did not disappoint. In fact, only elevated the rest of the series. Let's jump over to DC. We got a new one from DC Black Label. It's Zatanna bringing down the house. So let me go ahead and let you know, I kind of have a major crush on Zatanna, like majorly. Like I've never really thought of comic book characters as, well, outside of my adolescence, I've never really thought of comic book characters as in like, who's the sexy one? Like, who would you want your girlfriend to cosplay and dress up as or something like that? Like, I never had, I don't know. I mean, I'm not vanilla or anything, but I'm just saying that, like, I never thought, like, what that would be. And then one day, a former partner of mine had asked me, and I said, I think Zatanna's pretty hot. Those stockings and the fucking top hat. Like, there's something about Zatanna visually that I find very striking. And then she dressed as Zatanna. Anyway, so moving on, I'm always excited for a new Zatanna book, because once I had that revelation in my life that I had a major crush for Zatanna, I paid attention to all of her books. Like, Paul Dini did a really great run. There's been some stuff here and there utilizing her in the Justice League or the other DC universe, or just kind of doing her own side stories or appearances in Batman. So it's always cool when there's a new Zatanna book. This is by Mariko Tamaki and Javier Rodriguez. The art is fantastic in this book. The story's pretty good too. It's out of continuity, so you don't have to know anything about Zatanna to jump into this book. Like, if you've never ever read one of her comics, you can jump right into this. Striking colors, excellent panel design and composition and layout for the page. The art is phenomenal, and the story is pretty cool too, and it is rather sexy. So I would recommend this book to people for sure. All right, from DC we get Absolute Power Ground Zero. This is a one-shot comic that's kind of like the opening shot of Absolute Power. I have read the first issue of Absolute Power. There is an element of it that I don't necessarily like, but there are a lot of elements of it that I do like. And it's been weird with Absolute Power because it's been building up, right? This event's been building up for so long, and it feels very earned in the DC universe right now. It feels like so many books have been leading to this, and in fact, there's a certain reading order you got to put together here. In fact, let's just go ahead and break this down. Before you read this, you need to finish Suicide Squad Dream Team. I didn't do that. The first story in here is a follow-up to that involving Jonathan Kent's boyfriend Jay and Dream, right? Or Dreamer, whatever the hell her name is, right? So it's about her and Amanda Waller, and it's fine, and it's okay. The second story is about Failsafe, right? And reactivating Failsafe. It's by Chip Zdarsky and somebody else. Chip Zdarsky and Mark Waid, they worked on it together. The art's all right, it's decent, but it tells you, because at the end of Chip Zdarsky's Failsafe story, Failsafe is inert, right? So it tells you how Failsafe gets to being uninert, right? I guess I don't know what the term would be, but alive and functional again. We have already seen the Absolute Power Free Comic Book Day issue, so a lot of the stuff that is finally paid off in recent issues of, say, Suicide Squad Dream Team or or Batman, the Failsafe Zur-En-Arr stuff, or even House of Brainiac. So I thought this book was fine. The second story is about Batman. The third story is about the Brainiac Queen and how she goes again after the events of the end of the House of Brainiac, which happens this week. Both issues of the final bit of House of Brainiac release. So first up, we got Action Comics 1066 with part 5, and then we got Superman with part 6. I feel like this book was delayed. I feel like it was delayed because of the art, because the art changes all of a sudden here in Action Comics. But both of these comics are a really strong ending to this House of Brainiac story, which may to me be the highlight right now of Joshua Williamson's work on Superman. I think this has been a fantastic story. It's not going to go down as one of the greatest must-read Superman stories of all time, but it is going down as one of the greatest must-read Brainiac stories of all time. But read this before you read this. And then another thing, read Green Arrow number 13 before you read Flash number 10. I didn't, by the way. I read these in really the wrong order. Green Arrow number 13, Countdown to Absolute Power, a direct tie-in. And one of the things at the end of Absolute Power number 1, because I've already read it, that you're going to go, what? You're not going to understand unless you've been reading Green Arrow, and in particular this one. So, I'm not one to tell you to read meaningless tie-ins. We'll find out more about that later when I talk about the Blood Hunt books. But Green Arrow number 13, I think, is a little bit more essential to your understanding of some of the things that are developing in Absolute Power. So I would recommend this book. I don't really want to spoil it, but it feels like Oliver Queen is jumping over to the side of Amanda Waller. And that's pretty interesting and very important to where the story's going to go. I don't believe everything on the surface level in that issue is actually true. I think there's some stuff there. But anyway, then we got Flash issue number 10. If you read both of these books, read Green Arrow first. Flash number 10 is not essential to your understanding of Absolute Power at all. But if you've been reading The Flash, this is the next step. There's a lot of clarifications. There's a lot of revelations in this issue that help kind of recontextualize some of the elements, some of the more challenging, high-concept elements in Cy Spurrier's Flash. But it does really tie in to what's going on in the build-up to Absolute Power. And the Justice Buster is back against the Flash, and I'm just saying you might want to read Green Arrow before you read this issue of Flash. I'm just going to say that. Then we got Detective Comics here with 1086, right? 1086. We're in the very final throes of Ram V's Detective Comics run. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. It's been sweeping. It's been operatic, romantic, tragic, epic. It's been all of these things. We're nearing that end game, and it's all coming to fruition right now. This is the crescendo, right? This is the moment where every single instrument is firing off. All the themes that have been built up throughout the opera are all in play right now, and it's all becoming this majestic opus, right? That's like, think about it in terms of opera. That's what's happening here in the pages of Detective Comics. Reading it issue to issue, sometimes it does feel a bit disconnected because I think it's so integral to read it all together. And every time that I have read a big chunk or reread a big chunk of this Detective Comics run together, it soars. It soars and it sweeps and it swells and it's absolutely stunning. Detective Comics continues to deliver. Then we got the Penguin here with issue number 11, the penultimate issue of Tom King's The Penguin. And honestly, an issue that kind of let me down just a little bit, but at the same time, it did such a great job of setting up the grand finale of this run. So when I'm reading this book, at first I'm going, this is seemingly a start to a soft way to end this hardcore story, right? Then halfway through done with this issue, halfway between halfway and done, I started realizing, oh no, it's ramping up, and that was a cool little kind of like mislead and setup for what's to come. I'm enjoying this book. I think it's really hard-hitting at times, and the Penguin number 11, disappointed at first, but then redeemed itself rather quickly. For Marvel, we have Blood Hunt issue number 4. Pretty solid issue of Blood Hunt. It's all right. This book, though, this event doesn't feel super epic. It doesn't feel like epic in scale and scope. It just kind of feels like any issue of Avengers or any issue of whatever, right? But we do get more clarification on what exactly is going on with Blade. It's something that was teased in a previous issue, but Blood Hunt didn't feel like the Marvel Universe was heading towards this, right? Like, there were a couple little things here and there. There's a big moment here that Jed McKay Moon Knight fans are going to really love. I really loved it. I thought it was super cool. But Blood Hunt number 4, it's aight, it's decent, it's cool. It seems like a really quick, brisk, easy, breezy event that I don't know how much ramifications it's actually going to have, because I think that they are actively undoing it all as we speak. Blood Hunt, X-Men Magik. It's one-shot X-Men Blood Hunt tie-in. It's not essential to your understanding of Blood Hunt. It's just kind of okay. Didn't really do anything for me. Magik finds some people running from vampires. She helps them. That's pretty much it, y'all. That's pretty much it. It's not really super worth it, I think. Then we got Blood Hunt Midnight Suns, issue number 2, Scotty Young Blade cover. Because why not? In fact, you know, I didn't even think about... It's been such a weird week. I didn't even think about cover of the week or anything. Hold on a second. I didn't even think about cover of the week. We'll come back to that. I think I do have a smell of the week, though. But Blood Hunt, Midnight Suns, issue number 2. It's aight. It's okay. It's like the Midnight Suns are reunited. You think that the gist of this story is them trying to figure out what's up with Blade, but it's actually a side mission that they're having in the midst of this big event. So I'm sure it's going to lead into Blood Hunt number 5, and then Blood Hunt number 5 is going to come in, and then like the Midnight Suns are going to show up and be like, oh, I should have read Midnight Suns, but honestly, I don't think you should. Like, it's okay, it's decent, it's cool, it's Brian Hill, it's him continuing the Blade story, but not really with Blade, and of course, Brian Hill has just been announced he's doing a Red Band Blade book coming out after this, so I'm excited for that, because Blade is one of my favorite characters. This book's just not delivering the goods on what I really want, but it's all right. It's one of the better tie-ins. Then we got Moon Knight issue number 6. I read this before I read Blood Hunt number 4, and I shouldn't have done that. You should definitely read Moon Knight before you read... No, you should read Blood Hunt number 4 before you read Moon Knight number 6. Yeah, Moon Knight, Vengeance of the Moon Knight, right? Yeah. This issue's all right. It's like a couple of the other characters. What are their names? I'm always forgetting their names for some reason. What are their names? Where are they at? Everybody always like it when I keep in all this bullshit, right? Let's see. Tiger, no, not Tigress, not Hunter's Moon. Who are the other two characters? Why are they not listed here? The chick and the dude. Oh my goodness, why can I not think of this? Reese and Soldier. So sorry. Anyway, now we're back on track. Moon Knight number 6 was awesome. It was cool. It's focusing on Reese and Soldier and their little thing. Not super essential, but I would recommend that you read Blood Hunt number 4 before you read this, because the end of this, you don't really get the impact of it until you read Blood Hunt number 4. So that was cool. Hellverine is here with issue number 2. Benjamin Percy. Ota on the artwork. It's fine. It's okay. I did like the first issue. There's a new Hellverine. A spirit of vengeance has taken over a body of somebody Wolverine related. I still don't want to spoil it if you don't know, but it's Dakin, so I guess that's spoiled. Did I say that last time? Anyway, there was a spoiler variant. So the book is okay. It's decent. It's like what if the government was trying to have like a Cenobite program where they could like control Cenobites, and then the Hellverine has to resurrect to kind of put an end to it all? It's all right, it's decent, it's fine. It was a lackluster follow-up issue, to be honest with you. Then we got Ultimate Black Panther, issue number 5 from Brian Hill. A different artist on this, Carlos Nito, but the style is similar enough that it didn't really bother me. And I'm really getting into Ultimate Black Panther right now. At first, I thought it was too much of a slow burn. I didn't think it was as action-heavy as I wanted it to be. However, it's really turned into quite a charming and kind of simply complex idea. In this issue, we get introduced to a new element that's kind of like an anti-vibranium. That's really intriguing, and all of the machinations of what's going on in the story with the power struggles and the power plays, it all starts really coming to a head, especially at the end of the issue where the Moon Knights finally make their like fucking move, and it rocks. It rocks, and it was cool, and I really liked it. Let's jump over to Image. And from Image Comics, we have Self-Help, issue number 1. This is a new one from Owen King and Jesse Kellerman and Mariana Ignazi. And this was a pretty interesting book, right? So it's about this self-help guru who is kind of a dickhole, right? And then it's about this Uber driver. Well, they don't call it Uber. I think they just call it driver. But like an Uber driver, a Lyft driver, something like that. Somebody who's a little bit down on his luck. He doesn't feel like he's quite doing what he's supposed to do, and he looks just like this self-help guru, and through a series of fates and chances, he winds up driving this dude around, and the solicitations say that he's ultimately going to have to replace him. How we get into that scenario, I don't want to spoil, but it was actually a really cool book. So if it's a light week for you, which might not actually be the case because it's rather a full and robust week, I think Self-Help is definitely something worth you checking out. Then we've got Department of Truth, issue number 23, The Return of the Department of Truth, and it is well worth the wait. This has been the James Tynion book that has engaged and enthralled and compelled me all throughout its entirety. A lot of his books, like Something is Killing the Children, which I think might also be out this week, I drop out of because eventually I feel like they don't have a direction, they don't know where they're going. Department of Truth never feels like that to me. Of course, I'm really into the subject matter, but it's also a great start. This book's been gone for months, but now it's back, and it's kind of telling the real story of the development of the Department of Truth. And I know that it's already been explained to us what the Department of Truth is and how consensus belief relates to consensus reality, but the Department of Truth number 23 starts talking about Lee Harvey Oswald's involvement in the Department of Truth and goes back to the very beginning of that situation, and it was awesome. It brought me right back up into what I love about this book, which is absolutely amazing artwork, exposition-heavy issues that work because that artwork is so captivating and engaging that it just never lets your attention settle down or lose focus. And every idea that's played with in this book is phenomenal, and I love it. So then we got Void Rivals issue number 10, our Inner John Universe book this week, and Void Rivals is really not only kicking up its action, kicking up its tone and its excitement levels, but it's also really leaning heavy into its connection to the Inner John Universe. So at first, I think a lot of us thought, okay, so Transformers, G.I. Joe, they exist in this universe, Void Rivals is there, but how connected? Very connected, actually, and a lot of revelatory situations happen here in issue number 10. Springer's in there from Transformers. Springer's characterization is spot on and perfect. I love it, but a lot of ramifications for the entire Inner John universe are starting to be unveiled here in the pages of Void Rivals number 10. This book keeps getting better. Then we got Feral issue number 4, nice homage to 28 Days Later. Cats meets Zombies. Not Cats, the musical, but Cats as in the animal, Cats, in a zombie film, right? It's an homage to the zombie films that came before, as evident by these great homage covers that we're having. But it is such a great book because even though it's just your typical zombie apocalypse story and it's homaging all these other movies and these situations, it's about cats, and it works, right? And it's beautiful and glorious. Trish Forstner does a great job with all of the animal characters. Tone Rodriguez does all the backgrounds. It gives it this really interesting Don Bluth 70s Disney kind of aesthetic to it. And Tony Fleece is really able to craft a story that feels familiar and also pulling on the success of Stray Dogs, but also being relevant, having its own identity, and being necessary in this industry. Feral issue number 4 was great. Universal Monsters, Creature from the Black Lagoon Lives, issue number 3, Ron V, Dan Waters, and Matthew Roberts working here on a sequel to the original Creature from the Black Lagoon. This isn't quite what I was expecting, but I'm rather surprised with what I've gotten, or what I'm getting. I should say, I cannot speak today. It's been a rough couple days. Creature from the Black Lagoon Lives, though. It has some amazing moments of art, and it's really dealing with this like serial killer story, which at first seems odd for this book. Like, I want you to deal more with the creature, but thematically, the creature is all over each and every single page of this book, whether it's subtext or actual text, right? So I really like the dichotomy of doing something different and new and fresh, but at the same time, having the creature be such a figure in the story all throughout, even though the creature's not really utilized that much. And when you really think about the original movie, the creature's not in it that much. So there you go. All right, we got some new Ghost Machine books this week, 2 of them to be exact. Rook Exodus issue number 3. I'm loving the world building here, and that gets expanded on for real in issue number 3. I'm just loving this world. I'm loving the idea of these characters on this, Earth was failing. Humanity went to another place. Now it's failing. Other people have left, but there's still people there struggling to survive. Some have given up, some haven't. So it's the story of despair and hope and how those two relate to each other. But also the idea of these dudes who are animal wardens or something like that. And they wear these helmets where they can control certain animals. And there's so much room to play with and grow there. And they continue to expand out this world issue by issue. And Jason Fabek's artwork is absolutely intricately designed, detailed, and extravagant. Then we got Red Coat, issue number 3. This one I'm not vibing with as much, and at first I don't know. I'm trying to figure out why that is. Other people I know, like Damien from Sleepy Reader 666, is loving this book out of all the Ghost Machine books, and other people as well. For me, it's the one that I resonate with the least, and I'm trying to figure out if it's because this smarky, roguish character. Am I just not into that character? Am I just not into that character in Jeff Johns' hands? I love American history. I love occult history. This is those two things mashed together. Why don't I love this book? There's something about it though that I just feel detached from. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I do think it's either I just don't like this character or I don't like this character written by Jeff Johns, if that makes sense. Then we got The Sacrificers here with issue number 9. A big turning point in this issue. Blew me away. Really loved it. The artwork by Max Fiumara is so awesome. But Pigeon, our main character, who was one of the to-be sacrificed characters in the beginning, is now wreaking vengeance. And you're starting to see different sides of these gods and different elements of this conspiracy about these sacrificed ones and what they were actually being sacrificed for and the lie that's perpetrated across all these worlds. But Sacrificers issue number 9 did not fail to impress, just like usual. Then we got Grommets issue number 2, a great 80s slice of life story by Brian Posehn, Rick Remender, Brett Parson, Marino Dencio. The best thing about this was the nice tribute and homage to 80s Taco Bell, y'all, where you could get a tostada. You can still get the Taco Supreme and the Burrito Supreme, but you can't get the tostada anymore. Now they give you some bullshit Cheez-It tostada. Bring back the tostada. I love the Taco Bell bits. I love the characters. I like how this book, dangerous is the wrong word, but it feels very authentic. It feels very authentic to growing up in the 80s. I was a little bit younger in the 80s than the characters in this story, but I do vibe with a lot of what they're going through, and it's an interesting slice of life story about young people, skateboarders in, I think they're in Sacramento. And yeah, they're in Sacramento, but it's just great characters, a great world, and seriously, y'all, let's go back to it. That tribute to 80s Taco Bell. I want to go get some Taco Bell after this. Then we got World Tree, issue number 11 here. Why? Because these go to 11. I'm lost as hell in World Tree right now. I'm trying to keep up with it, but I am so disconnected from the story. I know I keep saying that. Then an issue comes along that I think is pretty solid. Then an issue like this comes along, and I'm like, I'm so lost, y'all. I'm lost. I am lost as hell. I need to reread all of World Tree, stat, or just stop reading it. That's what I think. King Spawn is here with issue number 35. Really solid issue. Great artwork, by the way, from Jason Sean Alexander. Really gritty, really gnarly, really scary. Color by Ivan Nunes. And Todd McFarlane doing the script, and it's actually pretty cool. I'm enjoying King Spawn. I feel like it's kind of turned the corner back around into being a super solid, interesting read. But it's, you know, Spawn just saved, was it Mother Abigail or whatever, right? And then Granny Blake, I'm sorry, Mother Abigail? That's The Stand. God, I'm so stupid. But then he's also like, you got this vampire stuff. You got some really gnarly, physically violent bits in there that I thought was pretty cool. Then we got Rat City, issue number 3. Rat City is just kind of okay. It's like a futuristic cyberpunk version of Spawn. And it's okay. It's decent enough, but nothing about the characters or their situation is truly captivating me. I'm just kind of reading it out of the fact that I want to read all these Spawn books, right? But Rat City to me it's okay, but it's not quite winning me over. But then we got Blood Squad 7, issue number 2. So Joe Casey was on the show not too long ago. He actually sent me PDFs of issue 1 and 2 of this, and I've already read this, and I got to reread it again this week in a physical format. I love this book. It's kind of like trying to fill in the gaps of the Youngblood continuity that got gutted from the overall Image continuity. So they're not using the Youngblood characters, but they're using stand-ins for the Youngblood characters, and this is pretty much what would happen if Youngblood existed today? What would the book be like? And this is exactly something that Joe Casey did, for instance, with a Wildstorm property, a former Image property, which was Wildcats. His work on Wildcats took the concept and matured it. And that's what he's doing with Youngblood here in Blood Squad 7. If you like things like The Boys, you really need to read Blood Squad 7. It's that same kind of zone, but to me a better comic and a really solid story. And you don't have to have a connection to the early Extreme Image days or the Youngblood stuff or anything like that. You can just enjoy it for what it is, and I highly encourage you to check it out. Issue 1 and issue 2 out right now. Keep that book going. Then we got Drawing Blood, issue number 3. A really simple and cool story from Kevin Eastman and David Avallone with artwork by Ben Bishop and at times Kevin Eastman doing some of his duo shade magic. This is a book that's already come and gone before, but now it's being re-released at Image, and this is the first time I've really read past issue number 1, and I'm loving it. It's like a honest story from both David Avallone and Kevin Eastman. It's about Kevin Eastman's life with a lot of fictionalized bits, like involvement in the Lithuanian mob, and instead of turtles, they're like, I don't even remember what they are. They're like cats or something like that, like the radical cats or something. But I love this book. I think it's really cool, and I think it is an honest portrayal of not being able to deal with success, right? And I think we're getting that from both David Avallone and especially Kevin Eastman. It's almost autobiographical, but not quite, because it's very much fictionalized. All right, from Mad Cave, we got the release of Gatchaman, issue number 1, written by Cullen Bunn. I have never been super into Gatchaman or Battle of the Planets or anything like that, so I read this book and I didn't really get much out of it. I think if you are a fan of this, though, it'll be fine, it'll be okay, it'll be decent. But if you're new, like me, like you're not really super into the property, it just kind of fell flat, and I didn't feel why I should be excited for it. So I think it's nostalgia bait for somebody that doesn't have nostalgia for that property. At the same time, we got Gatchaman Ken Death Watch, or Death Match, issue number 1 release. This is a one-shot comic. They're going to be doing a series of one-shots with these different characters from Gatchaman, and I'm not super connected to these people, and I think it's really odd to do your launch and a one-shot at the same time. It just kind of felt odd, felt weird, felt unneeded, and it kind of actually dulled me out more than just reading this, which I didn't really have much of a connection to. But then reading this right afterwards, I was like, yo, why are you making me read this Gatchaman stuff? I mean, it's Battle. I mean, I've never. That's a show, right? That's like an animated show or something from the 80s. Battle of the Planets, Gatchaman. I guess Gatchaman was the Japanese version. I have no idea. Maybe I need to learn more. I don't know what I'm talking about, right? I need to stick to comic reviews. All right, then we got Animal Pound here with issue number 4. Another solid issue of Animal Pound, but this one did feel like it dragged a little bit. Like it kept repeating the same ideas over and over. And as verbose as Tom King can be sometimes, and for the most part, the execution on Animal Pound has been pretty solid after issue 1. I thought issue number 1 was all right, but 2 and 3 really kind of surprised me. 4, though, kind of repeats the same ideas over and over, and it becomes a little bit of a drag because of it, because it takes a while to get through this issue where I feel like he could have done it in simpler way, right? But Animal Pound is still pretty solid, and I'm still coming around on it for sure. Then we got Spectrograph issue number 2. I remember reading issue number 1 and being like, I don't really get the point of this issue. In issue number 2, you get the point of the story. What the spectrograph is, how it's tied into the events that are going in the modern day, the intensity of this woman who's trapped in this house with this other woman, but meanwhile her baby is left alone and she's worried about that. She's dealing with her thing. The art by Christian Ward, in particular, the coloring is amazing. We're learning more about certain characters and their background and learning more at the same time about what's actually going on in this house. What the spectrograph is, why the ghosts are there, why it's so creepy, what's the ultimate mission. By the end, you get it, and I'm ready to see what happens in issue number 3. Then we got Blue Book 1947, issue number 5, final issue of Blue Book 1947. And after going through the years leading up to and then the main events of 1947 as far as the UFO phenomenon and flying saucers and all that stuff, this final issue kind of takes us from then to through the modern day and like Project Blue Book and Graphite and all this kind of stuff, right? And how they came about and what they were doing. So it's a really nice concluding chapter to 1947. I love UFO stuff. I love the stories of them. In fact, on July 7th, I'm going out to hunt UFOs with a local supernatural paranormal group, and I'm very, very excited for that. But Blue Book 1947, issue number 5, it's like a coda, but it does wrap everything up and it shows where the events in 1947, what they led to, and why. So there you go. William of Newbury, issue number 2. Fantastic freaking art all the way through. It's about a raccoon monk who is like an exorcist who's going around trying to do the right thing, and he keeps getting wrapped up in all these situations. It's very Hellboy-esque, Usagi Yojimbo-esque in certain aspects of it. The story's all right. It doesn't super like grab me or captivate me, but the art and the coloring are phenomenal. I freaking love the coloring in this book. You would think that it was Dave Stewart, but it's Michael Avon Oeming doing the script, the lettering, and the art, and it's all gorgeous, and it's so good. And I've already loved Michael Avon Oeming's work before, like artistically, but this is actually another level for him. Artistically, this book is awesome. Then we've got Armored issue number 2 here. This is from, what's this company? What is this company? Clover Press. Got my attention because it has a Nick Patera cover, so I wanted to check it out. I liked the first issue, and I really liked the second issue. I thought the artwork in here is really solid. It's by Ishmael Hernandez, written by Michael Schwartz. The artwork is great. It's got a great energy to it. It's about this kid who's just been recently adopted by a family who has lost their previous son. They lost their biological son in an accident, but he was actually eaten up by this monster, and he finds out about this monster and finds a suit of armor that's like mystical, and it connects him to this like old knight ghost, and now he has to be this like armored knight, but at the same time deal with what it's like in his life at this moment trying to adjust to this new situation. I really like this book. I think it's pretty solid. I think it's cool. I'm glad Nick did these covers because it put this book on my spotlight, and I'm enjoying reading it, and I'm going to continue to read it. Then we've got Army of Darkness Forever, issue number 9. The best Army of Darkness comic ever, a true and genuine and authentic follow-up to the original Army of Darkness movie and overall the Evil Dead trilogy. It picks up on the original ending of Army of Darkness, it picks up on the theatrical ending of Army of Darkness, and it picks up on where we left our characters in the medieval ages in Army of Darkness. And it's taking these 3 stories and really now working them together in such a masterful way. Tony Fleece has a love for this property and this project, and it comes through in these pages, and any Army of Darkness fan needs to read this book. You deserve it. So to recap, Army of Darkness Forever, best Army of Darkness book ever. Armored, so glad that Nick Patera did those covers, put it on my radar, and I really enjoy that book. William of Newbury, it's alright, but the artwork is absolutely stunning. Blue Book, 1947, issue number 5, a decent enough conclusion. Spectrograph, issue number 10, or issue number 2, really helps elevate this story and really get you as a reader into it. Animal Pound, number 1, runs a little long, repeats the same idea too many times, but it doesn't completely annoy me. Gatchaman and Gatchaman Kin Deathmatch, I just don't have the nostalgia for it. If you do, you might be into it. Drawing Blood, a really personal story with a lot of fictionalized elements that I'm really loving from Kevin Eastman and David Avallone. Blood Squad 7, if you like The Boys, read that book. Rat City's not quite doing it for me, but King Spawn is actually scratching that itch, especially with some great gritty, gnarly artwork. World Tree has lost me, or I have lost it. Grommets, though, great Taco Bell tribute in that issue. The Sacrificers do what the Sacrificers do, which is just be a great comic. Redcoat's not working for me, but Rook Exodus certainly is. Creature from the Black Lagoon Lives is not quite what I was expecting, but I'm realizing I'm down for it. Feral issue number 4 continues a classic approach to zombie fiction with the new approach of Stray Dogs, a la Tony Fleece and Trish Forstner and Tone Rodriguez. Void Rivals keeps getting better issue to issue. Department of Truth, a long-awaited return, but it is worth it. I loved that book. Self-Help, a really interesting read. If you got a low stack, check that one out. Ultimate Black Panther, I think, is strengthening. Hellverine is just kind of okay. Vengeance of the Moon Knight was just kind of okay. Blood Hunt Midnight Suns was just kind of okay. X-Men Magik Blood Hunt was just kind of okay. Blood Hunt number 4 was decent. Is alright. Then we got The Penguin number 11. Annoyed me at first, solidified at the end. Very excited for the conclusion of that. Detective Comics is ramping up and ramping up big, and I'm loving it. The Flash was good. It was good and it was solid, but you should definitely read Green Arrow before. This is an interesting development that's happening that's going to be relevant in Absolute Power. House of Brainiac concludes in Superman 15, and before that, Action Comics 166, one of the best Brainiac stories I've ever read. Absolute Power Ground Zero, not 100% essential to getting ready for Absolute Power number 1, but if you do want to know how they reactivate Failsafe, what happens to the Brainiac Queen, if you want to know that stuff, this is where it happens, and it sets you up for issue number 1, which some crazy stuff happens. Zatanna brings down the house, and she brings down me because she's hot. Then we got Rare Flavors, issue number 6, the final issue of this delightful, delicious series from Ron V, Felipe Andrade, and World Design on the lettering. Such a beautiful book filled with nuance and poignancy and a great gripping story about life. Anyway, that's what I read. Sorry we were late. What are you reading? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcast blogs and a whole lot more. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop. Boom!